Good afternoon, ex-Winterview back again with another brief dialogue with his dear friend Annastacey. Once again driving home in the old car. Apologies for the sounds of traffic, acceleration, etc. in the background. Also noticed when I was listening back to one of my recordings that you can hear my breathing quite distinctly on the recording. Apologies for that. It's a bit weird. Sound like a stalker on a telephone. I promise I am not. This brief dialogue is honing down and focusing on what I call the positive side of non-duality / Enlightenment, etc. The topic in broad terms. It's very easy to discuss the negative side, just simply pointing out all the concepts, what I'm not, all my ideas about myself, about life, about liberation, about enlightenment. And you can see pretty quickly with any concept it's limited. Not only is the description limited by your own ability to comprehend, perceive and structure your own thoughts, but there's also an element that we don't even know if the thought refers to anything outside of the thought. We just kind of hope it does. But what is it all pointing to, in essence? Now, I've talked about this before, in that the simple message, you could say, is that we're pointing to something that is extremely obvious, often or easily overlooked. And that is the very awakeness of existence itself, the very, in some circles, called the very presence or being itself. But these are very tired labels, and frequently heard so often in books or dialogues that after hearing them for long enough, it starts to sound as if these words are actually referring to something. And I just got through a few moments earlier advising that thoughts and concepts, as accurate or inaccurate as they might be, have that remaining new word there for you, remaining uncertainty as to whether they refer to anything outside of the thought. It's a very strange concept, a very, in some ways, unsettling idea that a thought might not refer to anything. It might just be a thought. That's something for the philosophers out there to ponder. For the time being, I'd like to draw attention to something very simple, very, very straightforward. Whatever this is, it has to be easy. It can't be complicated. It's certainly not something you need to figure out, understand. It's not something you earn. It's not something that is bestowed upon you when you are worthy, when you deserve it. We're talking about existence itself. I just like that word. I know it's confusing to people, but we'll just say life, or the awake existence itself. Awake presence. It's quite a nice way of saying it. The awake presence that I am. Imagine, just for a moment, that there was no word presence, no word awake, no word consciousness, awareness, life, God, etc. Imagine we just don't even have those words. And without those words or concepts, what can be said now? What can be said in the immediacy of the moment? Rather than telling the mind what it is, this is consciousness, this is awareness, go the other way. Ask yourself, if you like, ask the mind, or just ask out loud, what is this? What is this immediacy? Is it a world? Maybe. Is it life happening? Maybe. I don't know. Is it consciousness? I don't know. Is it awareness? Don't know. Is there someone here seeing this? I don't know. Is there someone here aware of this? I don't know. This is without labels, without the ability to discuss it, by artificially removing all the labels. What is it? Suddenly. Is it anything? Now, bring back in your labels and see what happens. See how stale, artificial it all suddenly seems. If I start saying, this is aware presence, this is consciousness, this is pure consciousness, this is radiant being, this is the life energy unfolding. From this perspective, suddenly all those descriptions that I'm trying to overlay, you might say, on this seem rather puny. Somehow missing the mark, somehow not really capturing anything. And the second thing is, as I actually say them, they become another appearance or another phenomena in the world, you could say. Just like anything else, like a cloud passing, the word consciousness is just the word consciousness. The word awareness, just another word, like a passing cloud in the sky. What this is, and even that statement right there, could be inaccurate, cannot be described. Or, if you prefer, whatever description I can give it does not capture it, cannot capture it. It is ungraspable, undefinable. And the labels could start. I could become more sophisticated. I could recite religious texts that are infinitely nuanced about this appearance. And still I wouldn't know if what I'm speaking about has any bearing on what this is. the positive side of this thing we call enlightenment or non-duality is already the case. It's already happening. The ideas that we have about it, like attaining it or achieving it, one day when I see this, one day when I get this, when some kind of energetic shift happens, when I realize this, and so on. That way of thinking is totally misguided, because the mind looks outwards, you could say, from this, away from it, in the wrong direction, totally in the wrong direction. And even if you were to point the mind into the right direction, it still wouldn't see it. Couldn't see this. Which is really, really annoying for the mind. Utterly confounding for the mind. The mind is certain. If I just get a few more concepts, I'll see this. If I can just hear a speaker who is a little bit more clear on the matter, then I'll get this. If my energies are all in alignment in some way, then this will become apparent. And so on. That style of thinking is contra, you could almost say, to this mysterious, ever-present something. It's so ridiculously simple that it becomes very very tricky to see. It's like it can't even be believed. It's so simple, sort of rejected before it's even considered. How can it be this? Just thisness. You see, the mind, if it hears these words, it's just this, will inevitably want to know what this is, and then claim it. Okay, this is what it is. It's this ever-present, aware, awake consciousness. That's what it is. That's what I am. And try and own it somehow, or try and form an identity for the individual around it. I am the ever-present conscious awareness. That's what I am. Okay, good. I've got that. Tick. In one way, it's like the sensation for the mind is like slipping on ice. For those of you who've ever walked on ice, like a frozen lake or an ice skating rink, that feeling of when one foot gives out, the next foot, you're like you've got so many feet, the other foot tries to compensate, find stability by planting itself. And if that foot gives out, the first foot tries again in a sort of kicking motion, like whoa, like a scrambling for balance, but not finding it. It's the sensation for the mind of falling, free falling, trying to find grip, but there's nothing to grasp at all. Because we're talking about something beyond concept. And for some that can feel unsettling, like a giddy, dizzy feeling, in fact. That can manifest like that. It can be uncomfortable. But the simplicity of it cannot be understated. That what is being sought is already present, already this. But what this is cannot be described, which is why it's annoying. Even the most beautiful descriptions are not this. So I feel like I'm labouring the point now. So I'm going to stop this brief dialogue, which will make it a little bit brief than my usual. Once again, thank you for listening, and as usual, comments are very welcome.